Hello everyone, how are you feeling today? Let's listen together to the story of CEO Alex and the single mother, Duhan. That morning, the village road was bathed in soft golden sunlight. Alex's car rolled slowly along, flanked by rows of green trees swaying in the breeze. Inside the car, the air carried both excitement and a touch of nervousness. Tuna held little Henry tightly in her arms, her hand gently stroking his soft hair as if to calm herself. This wasn't the first time she met Alex's mother, but today was different. This was the first time she and the baby were coming home with Alex, not as distant visitors, but as a small family seeking a place in his mother's heart. Alex glanced at Tuna and smiled reassuringly. He squeezed her hand gently. "Don't worry, Mother will be happy to see us." The old green iron gate gradually came into view. From afar, Alex's mother was already waiting. Her slender figure, silver-streaked hair glistening under the sunlight. When she saw her son with Tuna and the baby stepping out of the car, her eyes lit up, and a warm smile spread across her face. There was no longer the distance of their first meeting. Today, she opened her arms as if welcoming her very own family. "You're home already? Come in quickly, I've made some dishes that Alex likes." Her voice was full of warmth. As she bent down to look at Henry, she said tenderly, "Oh, you've grown so much. Last time you were so tiny in your mother's arms, and now you're looking around and babbling." Henry nestled into his mother's shoulder, his curious eyes following her. Tuna smiled politely. "Hello, Mother. I'm truly happy to bring the baby to see you today." Inside the familiar old house, the scent of simple home-cooked dishes lingered. Alex's mother busied herself at the table, occasionally setting food in front of Tuna while asking about her work and reminding her to take care of her health. The atmosphere was unusually warm, no longer the boundary between strangers and family, only the closeness of a true home. At first Henry was shy, but soon he was giggling happily when his grandmother handed him a ripe banana. His laughter blended with the cheerful voices of the three adults, making the small room glow with life. Alex sat quietly, eyes filled with indescribable emotion. He once thought peace like this was far away, but now, right before his eyes, his mother and Tuna were chatting naturally, Henry sitting in her lap with joy. It felt like a family that had long been whole. As the afternoon sun softened and the breeze carried the familiar scent of the countryside, Alex's mother sat by the veranda, holding Tuna's hand. Her voice, full of love and trust, said, "From now on, consider this place your home, yours and the baby's. With me, with Alex, with you, we are all family." Those simple words brought tears to Tuna's eyes, tears of happiness shining in the sunset. Alex wrapped his arms around both of them, feeling the emptiness in his heart finally filled. In that moment, Alex, Tuna, and his mother all understood, they had found where they truly belonged, a home to continue their journey together. After dinner, the whole family sat on the veranda sipping tea. The fragrance of hot tea mingled with the cool night breeze rustling through the bamboo, creating an unusually peaceful atmosphere. Out in the yard, moonlight spilled across the brick floor in shimmering patches, as if draping the house in a soft silver veil. Little Henry, after a day of being pampered and running around the garden, had fallen fast asleep in Tuna's warm arms. He slept soundly, his breathing steady, his tiny hand unconsciously gripping his mother's finger. Alex's mother began recalling his childhood memories, how mischievous little Alex once climbed a tree and fell, or how during rainy season he came home covered in mud from the fields. Each time she spoke, she smiled tenderly, while Alex could only scratch his head in embarrassment. Tuna listened intently, her eyes glowing with curiosity and warmth, as if she was discovering another side of Alex, simple, rustic, and much closer than the successful CEO image she knew. Alex's sister sat quietly at the table, slowly turning her teacup. From the beginning of the evening, she had been observing closely. In the past, she worried about her brother, afraid that Alex's feelings for a woman with a complicated past like Tuna would bring him hardship. But then, hearing Alex speak about their struggles, about Tuna's resilience, and seeing firsthand today, her gentleness, her tact, her respect for the family, her heart gradually softened. When Tuna gently adjusted the blanket for the baby, then politely offered their mother more tea, Alex's sister suddenly realized, this woman had come into Alex's life not only with love, but with sincerity and responsibility. The long-held worries in her heart faded away, like mist dissolving under the moonlight. Setting her teacup down, she spoke softly. Tuna, to be honest, at first I had many doubts. I was afraid Alex would suffer. But today, sitting with you, listening to you share, seeing the way you care for the baby and treat everyone, I feel much more at ease. From now on, consider me your own sister. If you ever face difficulties, come to me, don't hesitate. Her words echoed in the stillness, leaving Tuna momentarily stunned. Her eyes glistened, tears welling up. She bowed her head slightly, her voice trembling. Thank you, sister, truly, I will cherish this happiness, and I will do my utmost not to let anyone's trust be in vain. Alex's mother smiled, placing her hand on her daughter's shoulder, then turned to Alex and Tuna with eyes gleaming with joy. Sitting beside them, Alex was overwhelmed with emotion. He clasped Tuna's hand tightly, squeezing gently as if to whisper, I will always be by your side. That night, the four of them sat together under the bright moonlight. No more tests, no more distance, only the bond of a family newly healed and expanded. For Alex, it was the moment he knew with certainty, the home he had long dreamed of now truly existed. Night fell, and the whole family gathered on the veranda, the faint fragrance of hot tea blending with the cool night breeze. Little Henry slept soundly in Tuna's arms, his tiny hand still clutching the hem of his mother's shirt. Alex's mother sipped her tea as she recalled old stories, while Alex sat silently listening, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Alex's sister, after a long silence, suddenly burst out laughing. Mother's version is gentle. In reality, he was so mischievous. You know, once Alex loved climbing trees so much that he fell flat on his face in the yard, with a lump on his forehead as big as an egg. He cried but still denied it, blaming the dog for knocking him down. Everyone laughed. Tuna looked at Alex, her eyes filled with surprise and delight. He scratched his head sheepishly, looking no different from that same little boy. His sister went on. And once he secretly took father's bicycle for a ride around the village. He didn't even get halfway before hitting a pothole, falling hard, his clothes torn to pieces. Yet he still stood tall and declared, I'm training to be an entrepreneur, failures are meant to be overcome. Her story made Tuna laugh until her eyes watered. For a moment, the cold, decisive CEO Alex vanished, replaced by a mischievous, stubborn little boy with endless determination. His sister leaned forward, narrowing her eyes at Tuna. See? He's always wanted to do big things, to carry responsibilities. But he also hides his vulnerable side, never wanting others to see it. Now that you're by his side, I feel reassured, you understand him and give him a true home. Tuna held Henry tighter, her voice trembling. I promise I'll always be there, to walk with him through every hardship. Alex's mother smiled with satisfaction, his sister nodded in approval. As for Alex, he sat there quietly, holding Tuna's hand, his eyes brimming with happiness. That moonlit night, laughter and stories echoed across the veranda. Memories of childhood were retold, not just to bring joy, but to show Tuna clearly that the man beside her, whether a successful CEO or that mischievous boy, was the same Alex she loved. As the childhood tales drew to a close, the veranda was filled with warm laughter. Tuna lifted her gaze, her eyes shining with emotion. For years, her life had been marked by hardship, by the wary glances of others. But tonight, in this home, every look toward her carried acceptance and love. Alex's mother gently held her hand, her voice tender. Tuna, from now on you are no longer alone. Consider this place your home, and us your family. Alex's sister smiled and added, I believe you truly deserve happiness. Hearing those words, Tuna could no longer hold back her tears. She pressed her cheek against Henry's soft hair, feeling his warm little breaths. Her tears fell, not of sorrow, but of happiness and peace. In that moment, she thought, this is the most meaningful day of my life. A day when my heart was opened, and a true home welcomed me and my child. Beside her, Alex silently wrapped his arm around her shoulder, his gaze lingering on his mother and sister. In his heart, he whispered, from today, I am not just a CEO, not just a son or a younger brother. I am a husband, a father, a man carrying the weight of an entire family. The moon still shone brightly above, the bamboo outside still swayed gently in the breeze. But for Tuna, this scene had become eternal in her heart. This day, the day Alex's family opened their arms to embrace her and Henry, was the happiest and most complete day of her life. Early the next morning, as the first rays of sunlight slipped through the wooden window, Tuna slowly awoke. The fresh air of the farm rushed in, the scent of young grass, damp earth, and, somewhere in the distance, the sound of a rooster crowing, making her feel as if she were in another world, serene and at peace. Henry was still fast asleep beside her, his innocent face calm and still. Looking at her child, Tuna couldn't help but smile, her mind drifting back to everything that had happened the day before. From the moment Alex's mother opened her arms to welcome her, to the instant his sister spoke candidly and looked at her with genuine warmth, every memory replayed vividly, filling her heart with an unfamiliar, yet overwhelming sense of comfort. Yesterday truly was the happiest day of my life, Tuna thought. Never had she imagined a day when she and her son would be embraced so completely by a family. No more cautious glances, no more whispers behind her back, only sincerity and acceptance. Soft footsteps echoed in the hallway. Alex's mother was already up, preparing breakfast. His sister was outside playing with the puppies, calling and laughing, occasionally peeking in to see if Henry had woken. That simple yet love-filled scene made Tuna feel as though she truly belonged here. Alex entered, holding a steaming cup of coffee. He smiled at her. Did you sleep well? The weather's beautiful today. Later, I'll take you for a walk in the garden. Tuna nodded, her heart still floating in happiness. She knew that from this moment on, the journey ahead would no longer be hers and Henry's alone, it would include a family, a shoulder to lean on, a true home. Bathed in the soft morning light, she closed her eyes for a moment, letting yesterday's joy flow through every breath. The morning at the farm came alive with laughter. Henry had just woken and toddled into the yard, babbling incoherently, his tiny hands waving in the air, his eyes sparkling as Alex's sister bent down to tease him. He looked just like Alex when he was little, always running and falling, pure mischief in his blood. She laughed. Everyone burst out laughing. Alex's mother, sitting by the hearth stirring a pot of porridge, turned to remind Tuna how to care for Henry, from choosing the right foods to keeping him warm in the early mornings. The simple yet affectionate atmosphere made Alex stand still for a moment, overcome by indescribable emotion. He realized, what Tuna and Henry needed wasn't just acceptance, but a firm place they could truly call home. With that thought, he quietly took Tuna's hand and led her out to the back of the garden. The early breeze carried the gentle scent of grass. Pointing to an empty plot of land, Alex spoke in a steady, warm voice. I want to build a small house here. Nothing luxurious, just cozy enough for mother, sister, you, and Henry to always be together. A place where, whenever we're tired, we can return. Tuna froze for a moment, her eyes quickly filling with tears. Her voice trembled. You really want to do that? Alex nodded firmly, his gaze unwavering. I don't just want to. I will. This isn't only your dream, it's mine too. In that instant, Tuna threw her arms around him. Tears streamed down, yet her lips curved into a smile. She had never imagined a day like this, the day a man wouldn't just make promises, but would be ready to build an entire home for her and her child. Out in the yard, Henry's innocent laughter rang out in his aunt's arms, mingling with his grandmother's voice calling inside. Where are you two? Come have breakfast. Everything blended into a picture of serenity. And Tuna knew for certain, from this day forward, her life and her son's had entered a brand new chapter. After returning from the plot of land behind the garden, Alex and Tuna sat together under the shade of an old mango tree. Henry lay in his mother's arms, his eyes half closed with sleep, his tiny hands clutching tightly at her shirt. The tranquil air made Alex feel it was the perfect moment to open his heart. He gently held Tuna's hand, his voice slow but filled with resolve. Tuna, I've thought a lot. We've gone through so many hardships, but I don't want you and Henry to keep living in days filled with worry. I want to give you a home, a place of true peace. The house behind the garden is just the beginning. Tuna looked up, her eyes glistening. And, what else have you thought about? Alex nodded slightly, his gaze brimming with faith in the future. I'll continue my work at the company, but I want to start a small farm here as well. It'll give mother and my sister joy in their later years, and Henry can grow up surrounded by fresh air. You'll have your own little garden, where you can plant flowers, raise chickens, and live the life you've always dreamed of. He paused for a moment, then tightened his grip on her hand. And beyond that, I want us to officially become a complete family. A simple wedding, just you, Henry, mother, my sister, and our loved ones. I don't need anything extravagant, only your yes. Tears welled at the corners of her eyes as Tuna leaned her head on Alex's shoulder. Never before had she envisioned a future so vivid and sweet. All the loneliness, all the fears of the past seemed to melt away, replaced by a firm conviction they would build the most beautiful days together. Henry suddenly let out a soft, incoherent babble in his sleep, like an innocent reply. Alex and Tuna looked at each other and laughed. In that moment, they weren't just living in the present, they were gazing together toward a bright future, a home filled with warmth, with laughter, with peaceful days, and above all, with a love so steadfast that nothing could tear it apart.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Rất vui vì lại gặp lại mọi người trong video hôm nay. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến cho mọi người những câu chuyện tiếp theo về đời sống và tình yêu, cũng như là những sự việc xoay quanh những người phụ nữ có cuộc sống bất hạnh ở vùng quê Việt Nam. Như mọi người cũng đã biết, thường thì ở trên kênh của mình sẽ đưa đến những câu chuyện về mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca, Lý Tử Diệp hoặc là Lý Tử Na. Thì những người phụ nữ này đều là những cô gái rất là còn ít tuổi. Tuy nhiên số phận thì không có như ý muốn, gặp phải rất là nhiều chuyện không hay ở trong cuộc sống. Điều đó dẫn đến một con người nghị lực và luôn cố gắng vượt qua mọi hoàn cảnh của mình. Và họ đã cố gắng và có một tình yêu chân thành. Vậy thì liệu họ có thể vượt qua được những khó khăn trong cuộc sống và có thể theo đuổi tình yêu và ước mơ của mình hay không? Thì hãy cùng theo dõi những video mà kênh mình đưa lên để có thể hiểu thêm mọi người nhé.